guys, welcome to my channel, welcome to my stream, and welcome to another chapter working on this guy right there. That's our 92 Toyota 4x4 pickup that we're turning into a Taliban Toyota. Anyway, we'll run the intro, we'll get into the next chapter. Okay guys, so we're back and we're going to continue on this. And I'm hoping to probably get the interior finished today. Last time we got the interior, got it primered basically. Put down a couple of coats of the Mr. Surfacer 1500 gray. And I was going to leave it like that. But I pulled up some reference photos of this thing online. And just to see what colors the interiors are, and the gray interior, basically the doors, the dash, and the carpet are kind of a little bit darker gray, while the seat was a lighter vinyl color. So the seats I left the same color. I did give them a little coat of semi-gloss clear on them, just to give them a tiny little bit of a shine to them. It shows you they're not cloth, right? And for the rest of the interior, I decided to paint with Tamiya's XF54, and so we got a bit of a darker color going on with the rest of it. I decided to leave the center console armrest the same color as the seats, same vinyl color. Because actually in the reference photos I found of this thing, it's supposed to have a bench seat with no center console. And also while looking on pictures online, I realized the lack of detail in the interior door panels. You're supposed to have an armrest on the side of the door, and how about a window crank? There's no window crank. Even if you were to say, hey, this thing's got power windows, there's no armrest with power window controls anywhere. Thanks a lot, AMT. Thanks for that lack of detail. So let's get this off of the sprue. Our painting in this is done. The other thing I found kind of humorous is the throttle pedal, or gas pedal, whatever you like to call it. I'm going to change the camera here and show you. Our gas pedal is just this huge block that's kind of molded into the top there, molded into the floor. And yeah, it's just a great big block. It's not really detailed at all. It doesn't even really have any real texture to it, you know. Our dash is pretty much done. I put the decals in for the gauges, and yeah, a little bit of detail here. I'm not trying to go for like crazy detail on this kit. So let's put our steering wheel onto the dash. I got the steering wheel painted up also, so let's just do this. Get this onto the dash where it belongs. So that's going to be next. And I will have to touch up where it was connected to the sprue, but that's alright. Touching it up is not a big deal. Okay, there we go. Oh, this spot here. Like I mentioned, I'm not going for a lot of I'm not going for a lot of detail on this. After all, you know, when you look at this thing sitting on the shelf, the one thing that we're going to be focusing on is the great big gun in the back. I should clean up the little nub at the bottom here. That's just going to bug me. Even though this is probably not really going to be seen down here. Where this was connected on the sprue, it's a big flat area there. And then this side too. You're probably not going to see this part, but I still want to clean it up, just because That's me. Okay. Let's put some glue on here. And let's get our steering wheel in place. Doesn't matter if it's straight, not really, but our wheels are going to be straight. So there we go. Steering wheel's in. Okay. Now we have the shifter that's supposed to go in the center console here. I got to find that. I did paint it up. I just got to find the sprue that it's on. There it is. Right here, got that painted up. And this guy, his little peg, as you might be able to tell, this is not a round circle that's got one side that's flat. So you're just going to have to line that up and make sure that it's all good. And I do like the fact that because this was primered in black and this was primered in gray, that makes the XF54, even though it's the same color gray, because of the different primer, it makes it a slightly different color, and I like that. I'm just going to glue it from the bottom. Why not, right? Just hold it in here like that. And drop a glue on there, and that ought to be good enough to hold it. Okay, so make sure it's straight. There we go. So our shifter's in. Okay, the dashboard looks like our great big wedge here is going to fit right in there. You notice I'm doing this without even looking at the instructions. I'm just guessing. Yeah, it just fits in like that. And we've got our brake and clutch pedals, which sit much further forward than our gas pedal. Which, you know, at this point, am I surprised? Not really. Now, before we get too far and start gluing the dash in, I want to make sure my seats are going to go in and be cooperative. So you got those big nubs there. Let's just make sure that's flush. This nub that I never cleaned off yet. And of course this guy here. Okay. Let's just do a little test. I'm going to be able to put that in. I actually think I'm just going to put the seats in first. The seats are going to go in first. And all we're going to do is just put some glue on the bottom here, line them up with this little bar at the back here, and just set them in like that. And call that done. I do want to clean up this little edge here a little bit better first, just because it's a little bit sticking out and I don't want to see it. Okay, I am going to grab my other glue. Fortunately, I don't have the same camera issues that I did last week. Or is it last week? It's actually just the other day. But yeah, turns out my license had expired and I needed to renew it, so that's why it was doing that. When you don't have a license, they only allow for the camera to be on for 2 minutes, and which is why every 2 minutes the camera was freezing. Okay, both seats fit no problem. Making sure it's straight. There we go. Seats are in. And now we'll do our dash. Get that back in as spot that he liked to sit in. There we go. And I'll use this glue. Both sides, all the way around. Could even do a little drop on there, in there, along there. And there we go. Okay. So that's that. I think that's it for the interior, guys. Let me just take a look at our instructions. I'm going to move all my sprues now that I've got on my desk. And we'll have a look. Okay. Now, I failed to mention, maybe I didn't, I can't remember if I mentioned, I did put the decal for the instruments on the dash. Okay, for the gauges. Yes, I did mention it. They're in there. So there's our interior. Right? It doesn't look bad. It looks fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not highly detailed, and the door panels are not accurate. That's all. So there's our interior. Step number 8 is done. So let's move on to number 9. Number 9 would have us put the interior in with the glass and everything. But I don't want to do that yet. What I am going to do is put the firewall in. We'll put the firewall in. We'll do that. That's funny. They actually give you a separate piece for the windshield wiper motor. How rare is that? Windshield wiper motor is a separate piece. Nobody does that. So, let's grab the cab. We'll put our interior off to the side. We could do a test fit on it, but we'll let the glue dry. So here's our cab. We've got this great big piece in the middle we're going to have to get rid of. Let's clean that up. Clean up this nub in here. You guys with a keen eye may notice we've got some little bit of nastiness going on in the inside here. Okay, and on this side, you can see actually some marks. What I did is I took my Dremel and I kind of thinned the door panels a little bit, and I also made this part of the fender. Okay, let's get this part here. Okay, right along here. I kind of thinned it out to make it look a little bit more realistically thin. This should be really thin. When you look at this model, when you look at your model cars on an angle, okay, and an angle something like this should not be a super thick piece right here. That should be super paper thin. Okay, at least it should appear that way. This is just sheet metal. You know, you're trying to mimic sheet metal. And in real cars, that piece is thin, right? So that should not be a super thick piece of plastic. That should not be this thick, okay, right around in here. So the way to make it look like that is you just give it a taper, make it so it comes to a point and it's not a flat edge, right? You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? I want to show you. I'll show you exactly what I mean. Here. When you look at the cross section of this, okay, this here, that's like this, okay, there's your fender. This face right here is this right here, okay. So what you do is you get a file or a Dremel with a bit on it or whatever, and you file it on an angle like this. Okay, so you're not actually taking away any thickness, you're just taking away this flat edge and turning it into a point, so that when you're looking at this, you don't see the flat edge, you just see the point, and it makes it appear like it's much thinner than it really is. And that's the whole point. And so I did that a little bit because this was nasty. That was, especially right down in there, that was really thick. That was probably a good 2 millimeters thick in there. It was crazy. And I just ground that down with the Dremel and made it a little more realistic. but still plenty strong. It's still got lots of strength with it because it really is thick. Like, look at the thickness there. The thickness right there. That's how thick that was, and it's going all the way along this edge. Okay? And it still is. I mean, I could work that a lot more still, and it would be fine. Right? So, yeah, that's just a little something to add to get your detail looking a little bit better and a little more realistic, right? Or at least realistic looking. Anyway, let's grab our firewall. My firewall is already primered because, you know, I kind of primered everything. And the reason why I'm putting the firewall in and nothing else is because we have to paint the cab. We've got to paint this truck. And 9 times out of 10, your engine compartments are the same, or, you know, they're painted the same color as the body. In the factories, they just take it to the booth. Firewall's already installed. Now this apparently just goes up in here. It looks like it's gonna you're gonna line it up along here and here. Okay, along our inner fender wells. These two parts here and here. Line that up like this. Just like that. And it also gives it a rear lip for the hood to line up with. But of course, you know, sometimes that causes more problems than it solves. Let's get some glue. Run it along that edge. And on our firewall. Or fender wall, I mean. And we'll come at it from behind too. Behind / underneath. And there we have it. Okay. Firewall's installed. We'll let that dry. Now, speaking of drying, where did my interior go? There it is. Interior is supposed to just drop in here. It looks like it is just going to drop in with no problems. It just lines up and matches up there, I guess, with the firewall. Which makes me happy I put the firewall in first. Maybe it's going to go in past the firewall? It looks like it does. It goes a little bit past. Which leads me to another thing. I'm going to have to paint the inside of the cab before I put the interior in. But that's what she will look like eventually. Okay. So, pull this out. And that is that. So, with that done, what's next? Because I can't really do anything else. I've got to paint this thing first before we get that done. Next we have our bucket. And it has a note here, see last page of instructions for additional paint options. Last page of instructions. So we've got our painting options, but we don't really need to worry about that right now. Instead, we're going to put our cab aside now and let that dry. And we'll grab our box and a sip of coffee. Okay, so we've got our box, one piece. I did the same kind of thing in here. I kind of went around this edge here and just kind of give it a bit of an angle and make it just seem a little bit thinner. We're going to put our tailgate together. And of course we have the options. They give us this one here where you can do a tailgate mesh, which some people have. I'm going to guess no, they didn't have it. We've got our tailgate here that's 2 pieces. Let's go take a look at that one. Let's grab that off the sprues. Looks like it's right here. Looks like our 3 pieces here for our tailgate. end. Okay, so tailgate is 2 pieces. And that's pretty straightforward. These two go together. There's no real guide pins or anything like that. It's just line it up so that it's flush, I guess, and then call it a day. Is it a day? Yeah, it's a day. You can call it a day. And they say don't glue the tailgate in. It's kind of standard on pickup truck models. They always have that little detail so that you can drop the tailgate if you want. But if you watch my GMC Sonoma build, as I found, dropping that tailgate was a bit of a challenge, having to spread the fenders apart in order to unlock it. So we have this piece here which has to go in. This is where it's kind of like the rear filler panel, I guess. Right in here, I guess it goes like this, and it's supposed to go in here. How does this go? It's supposed to go up underneath. But it's way too wide to fit there. So it's supposed to go in, it goes in behind. It seems to fit like this. I'm just not, because they kind of have the diagram shows like little notches in this that are not present on the actual part. And I guess it's supposed to go like this. If I flip the page, they don't show anything. And the next picture we have down here doesn't show those little things at all. The tailgate is supposed to go in. It's got these little tabs sticking out, but there's no definitive little holes. This is interesting how they have this. The tailgate doesn't fit proper. If I line the tailgate up at the top, okay. The tailgate is too wide. I mean, just barely, but it sits like this. But our peg is hitting. Or is that just a little bit of flashing I've got going on there? Yes. Got some flash going on right here that is interfering with the fit. Let's clean this up. Nothing like flash to interfere with how parts fit together. Okay, so now let's try this again. I'm going to get rid of, let's clean up my nubs, you know. Why I'm trying to put this all together and I didn't clean up my nubs, I don't know why. Maybe I got a little bit lazy this time. Could be. Alright. This. One side lined up. Was lined up. Line up this side. Okay, so she's still not a great fit. But she's lined up. She's in her spot. Covers these things and doesn't really interfere with this piece whatsoever. If I tuck this one in here like this, and that's our license plate frame, and that's how it would sit. I'm guessing our taillights buckets have some kind of a notch in them to put in there and keep our tailgate positioned. So our bezels look like they're on the chrome sprue, so let's find our chrome sprue. Where is the chrome sprue? Do I have it out here? Maybe not. Yes, here they are. I actually got two. Those are mirrors, so we don't need the mirrors. These guys here, they do not appear to have any kind of notches in them. Oh yes, they do. There's a little notch right in there. Right in there. And right in there. And that's where those pins are going to line up when we put them on. Okay, and as for this, when we line this up on the frame, that's what those notches, when those notches come into effect, because the frame's going to stick out through there. Just like that. That's what these notches, this one here and here. And our pegs are going to line up here and here. And we do that. And that. And that's how she's going to line up. She's not a perfect, oh yeah, it is perfect. Just like that. And that's how our box will line up on our frame. We also have these pegs here and here. So our four markers, here, 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 and here, line up with these. And the funny thing is, our frame, there we go, snaps in, there we go. Just friction alone is holding the box on. But hey, it works, right? That's the main thing. Kind of like that. And those are sticking out so we can put our rear bumper on. Now another thing I was thinking about is maybe the tailgate is off. Or the tailgate's down. I could glue the tailgate down. Like this. And just glue it down like that. Because this, you know, our big gun is going to be sitting back here like this. Right? Kind of like that. And, yeah, I'm thinking maybe they just leave the tailgate down. Anyway, so I think I've done enough of this little test fitting. Tailgate isn't going to be glued in, but this piece needs to be glued in. So let's get this piece glued in. like it's supposed to be. Okay, so that's glued in where it needs to be. That's in its new home now. Okay. As for the rest of the tailgate, I think that's about it. I don't want to put the bezels in, the light bezels in, because, well, that's more painting. And same with the tailgate. The tailgate will be painted too. So what can we do next? Well, I guess the next step would be putting the box on in the cab, everything. Put the box and the cab together, put the truck on the frame. But we're not ready for that. We have to do some painting. So I've got to get this thing ready to paint. I've got to get ready to paint, guys. So bear with me a sec. I'll be right back. Here's the color that we're going to paint this guy. This is, to me, is TS39 Mica Red. We're going to go with this, okay? I've got one that is brand new and never opened, and I got one that's about half full. And I think that's probably going to be enough to get this thing the color that I want it to be. I don't normally paint stuff with the Tamiya rattle cans anymore. You guys know that I kind of use my airbrush from now, but we're going old school, back to 1992, before I even had an airbrush, right? Mind you, back in 92, I wasn't even using Tamiya's spray cans. Back in 92, if I was building a model, I was probably buying something from the hardware store and using like some Rust-Oleum or something like that, you know. I just opened up a whole can of worms with the modeling community. Some guys, you know, use model paints for models, blah, 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 you know, and they just never shut up about it. So, I don't want to get overspray on the girls. So I'll move them out of the way. I also don't want overspray on my Xenoborg, so I'll move him out of the way. You guys see my little Godzilla Pikachu? You guys may have seen the short video I put up online. It was my very first short video, and yes, I know it's not the best. I know it needs work, but I'm new. It's my first one ever. Okay, so I'm kind of going against my own rule here. I should primer this thing first. So I'm gonna primer it. I'm just gonna, you know, I'm not gonna force you guys to watch me primer this thing. So this is where I'm gonna end it now, and we'll come back and I'll have it done primered, and maybe the first coat of paint and we'll come back a little bit later, okay? I'll see you a little bit.
Later.
Okay, so we're back. Our little, woohoo! Our little white truck is now a little gray truck. So he's done. We've got him painted up, or I've got him primered, okay? It's primered up. Now what I need to do is, because I tend to, let's say, what do they call it? They call it spraying dry, I think they call it. I have a tendency to not really lay down super wet, thick, wet coats. And so I get a little bit of a slightly rough texture, which, you know, that works out great for things like armor models or old planes. But for things like cars, it's not that great of a thing. So just a little bit of a wipe down with a cloth, because it's nice and fresh, smoothens this out a lot nicely and gives it a little bit of a nicer smooth finish, especially with an older cloth like this. Gives it a smooth finish for the paint to lay down on. Obviously you don't have to worry about so much underneath, but on places like the roof and the hood, you want to have that kind of smooth. Now if this doesn't do a good enough job, I might have to resort to a little bit of sandpaper. It feels alright. Not bad. After all, this isn't a show truck, right? We're not doing a show truck, which is why it doesn't matter so much with this particular build. Even if I didn't do this, it'd probably be just fine. But I do want to do my due diligence in making it, you know, half decent. The Tamiya spray is going to lay down pretty nicely. Here's our hood, and similar thing. Let's give this a little bit of a wipe. Be careful of your little hood hooks, right? Got to be careful of those. There we go. Let's just do a little test fit on our hood to make sure this actually fits in here. Yeah, fits pretty good. You can tell I only did one coat of primer on the hood, and I did like 2 or 3 on the body. But that's not really going to make much difference. This thing's going to look pretty gnarly when we're done. So I kind of like to paint the hood on it, because then I get full coverage, exact same coverage as everywhere else. But at the same time, I will do a little coat underneath here in the I was going to say wheel well, in the engine compartment. All the same. So give this a little wipe. This side too. There we go. Okay, so we're ready for some color. Again, what we're doing is the TS39 by Tamiya, which of course I can't buy anymore, but that's okay. I'm going to move my coffee out of the way so I don't get overspray in my coffee. And what I want to do is, after I lay down a little bit of a color on this, I'm going to turn my fans on so that I've got good ventilation in my room here. So the last thing you want is, you don't want to be inhaling all these fumes. They're not really good for you. Okay, got a clip on that. Let's just put that guy over here. Not really doing any body clips on these kinds of things, because I can hold it here, do a spray, let it down, let it sit, and let me move the camera a little bit. I don't have my other camera set up, but you can sort of see what I'm doing over here. Okay, just right here. Okay, you'll get the idea. We'll do the hood first. Why not? Let's do the hood first. Get the underside first. That is something that's really nice about rattle cans, is you get good coverage just like that. Right, straight out of the thing, you've got some nice covering. Okay, I want to do the underside first on this. got that kind of going on in there. Wheel wells are a little hard to get at. This is the challenge with rattle cans, is getting in all these nooks and crannies everywhere. The airbrush is a lot easier. Okay, so I got that in there. I got a little bit thick under there, but that's okay. That'll dry in a few minutes. So we'll set this down, let that dry. And we'll go with our tailgate next. I'm going to utilize one of our little pins on the side to hold this. It's not strong enough. Let's grab this pair of tweezers. These guys hold a lot stronger. Still not very strong, but good enough. Okay. And there's our tailgate. Okay. Set this down over here. Finally, we have our cab. Now, realistically, I should mask off the inside of this, which I think I'm going to do, just because I don't want to have to. Umarox, yo, sir, what's up? How are you doing? We're going to do a little bit of masking just on the inside here, because I don't want to have to cover up the red later, because our interior is going to be gray, and so I don't want to have to cover it up. I'm fine. What are you making? Well, I'm making the 1992 Toyota pickup truck. That's what we're making. We're in the painting the body stage of this particular build. And just making sure my gray interior is going to stay gray and not become red. Am I an artist? No, I'm not an artist. I'm just a sarcastic Canadian who likes to build model kits. That's all I am. That's not all I am. I am other things, but that's it. Okay, that might be good enough. I want to make sure it's actually connecting at the edges here. Okay, there's that piece. 2 more pieces ought to do it. You stream daily? No, unfortunately, I have a full-time job and I cannot stream daily. Plus, my wife would not be very happy with it if I stream daily. I'd say I try to do once a week, or twice a week, I mean. I try to do twice a week. Usually early Saturday mornings like this is a regular norm for me. But I do try to do twice a week. It's just, that's a little bit hard to do though. I can't guarantee twice a week, but Saturdays for sure. Saturdays for sure. Always Saturdays. Okay, so we got our interior masked off good enough here. That ought to protect it from me. So we're going to start with the underhood here. We'll just do that. Cardboard? No, this is plastic. Plastic model kit. Okay, so like I said, I don't have my other camera set up, so you just have to kind of watch me over here as I turn my back to you a little bit. And we'll get underneath here first. just doing a preliminary coat here, just to try and make sure we get in all the nooks and crannies at every angle. Okay. Now we're going to let this dry. Okay, let that dry a little bit so that I can grab it from different angles later on. Okay, let's put this aside. This is probably tacky now. It's tacky, so it's good enough, so I can start working on the other sides of this. Of course, the trick is, you know, where do you grab it when you're trying to paint this? Which is why a lot of times you just don't, right? You put it on something. We're going to take these guys and we're going to put them over here, out of the way. This guy might be able to, he's still a little bit tacky, but I can put him like this and just have him sit over here nice and safe. I'll take the hood, and the hood can sit over here nice and safe. Let's see. So you make different types of things on stream, or do you do any other stream also? I basically build model kits. You can check out, I do have links down below there. You can check out my YouTube channel and stuff like that, and I got all kinds of stuff I build. I build model cars, airplanes, model tanks. I do a few Gundams, if you're into that stuff. I do that too. Yeah, and I just recently started getting into 3D printing. And so I do a little bit of that. I'm just dabbling. I'm new to the 3D printing thing. I just made this, I combined Godzilla with Pikachu, and I 3D printed that. I just got to paint it. That's my most recent print. Yeah, so stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this thing on my little Lazy Susan here. I'll do that, and that way I can spray around and I don't have to touch it. Alright, because I've already done the underside, so that's fine. It's just going to be getting into this angle here. So I might actually do another spray here and here along the edges first, and then set it down. So let's do that. Just so I get the underside a little better. Yeah, so do that. Painted a little bit on the underside there. Am I famous? I am not famous. I do have like 1,160 followers on YouTube. That's maybe a little tiny bit famous. I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't really call it famous. Yeah, I've got some followers, but yeah. And then of course on Twitch here, I've got like nothing. I've got a few followers, but I don't even have a single subscriber on Twitch. Which, you know, if it were me, I probably wouldn't subscribe to myself either. Why subscribe when you'd get it for free? I got to do a little bit different angle up in here. That's a little bit different, a little difficult to get in there. Of course, like I said, it's not airbrush, so getting in the nooks and crannies is a lot harder with rattle can. Okay, so I've done the similar thing where I've just hit it at this kind of an angle so that when I go to paint it later I can set it down and that's already got a good coat on it. Okay. So let's test this. Is this tacky? Yeah, it's still a little bit tacky. It's almost not ready. What I could do is put something under here for it to sit on. In fact, I got an idea. I just threw away the jar. Here we go. It's an old cup. I can put this down like that and sit it down. Sit it on top. This. There we go. So now it's not touching and I don't have to worry about that. You have 4 to 5 videos on YouTube with the same thumbnail. Yeah, because it's a build series, right? So that's why I've got different parts. Because I usually do about an hour and do what I can in an hour. Sometimes that just involves, oh, maybe I did the interior and that took me an hour to put together, and so that's that. So there you go. That kind of stuff. Or maybe putting the chassis together, putting the engine in, little different things like that. All these things, they take time, right? So I do section by section. So let's give this a coat here. Turn it around, keep moving it. Again, you gotta get all your angles, right? Okay, there's the first coat on our box. I will do 2 coats on it, but now we've got to really let this dry. And just sit that down over here. That, my cup stuck to the bottom of it, but that's quite all right. This one is a little bit different. Okay, this one I think I'm going to try my other handy dandy little holder. Just a second. What's this? It'll be controlled by a remote. No, these are just model kits just to put on display on your shelf, not to actually drive around. So we got this little guy here that we can put in here and hold on to it just like that. Give it an extra little thing. All right. So the cab's painted. With the cab painted, we're going to let that dry. By the way, I have some suggestions for you. Can I say? Yeah, sure. I'm always open to constructive criticism. I'm even non-constructive criticism. Go ahead. Say what you want. Freedom of speech. America! No, I'm kidding. I'm not American, I'm Canadian. Canada, eh? Yeah, I'm Canadian, eh? That's our line from The Simpsons when Bart goes to school and goes to special ed school or whatever, and that one kid's from Canada. I'm from Canada and they think I'm slow, eh? Or something like that. But yeah, go ahead. I will warn you though, I do have to let this thing dry, so there's really not much I can do now for the rest of it. I've got to let this dry for at least a good half an hour before I can do anything more on it. More on it? Yeah, more on it. Yeah, so that's pretty much where I need to leave it for today. And that's about it, right? Yeah. Looks like I missed an angle on our tailgate here, so I should hit that again, especially if I'm going to have the tailgate down. I seem to have a little blemish in the paint right there on the tailgate. I might be able to cover that up. Let's see here. I won't need my glove for this. Let that dry. That is another nice thing about rattle can painting, is you don't have to clean up your airbrush. Like I said, I've got to let that dry. Not much I can do with it probably for the rest of the day. I'll just have to leave it and let that paint cure. But if you actually wanted to get a hold of me, I would recommend my Instagram, because I do check my Instagram quite often. I'm on there quite a bit. So you could send me a message on Instagram if you wanted to connect. So that's where I would recommend. My Instagram, just check out the link down below. You'll see it there. For my YouTube channel, yes, you guys, again, check the links down below in the description box. You guys will see all that stuff, my Instagram, my X channel, stuff like that. You check that out, and yeah, follow me on Twitch. And this is where I gotta leave it for today, guys, because I gotta get going. Thanks again, Numerox, and I guess we'll see you all in the next one.